All right, so the dimensioning chapter, or the dimensioning assignment, dimension these three items which you've already drawn, already modeled, or should have. Um, my internet is down, so I don't know when this will be available to you to upload. But please read the dimensioning chapter. Read all these chapters that I post. I post them for a reason, and it's solid information that you'll need. And if you took the Assault Professor stuff is also appropriate. There's certain rules that you follow. I kind of go by the rule of thumb where I establish features of an object first, and then I do overalls. There's things that you don't do. You never, you don't overlap dimensions. You don't cross a dimension line. You can cross an extension line, okay, but not a dimension line. We'll talk about that as we do it. So let me find this object. What was it called? Angle slider. I should have that. There we go. If not, I wouldn't have to model it, which I don't have to. Okay, so this was metric or English. That was metric. So we'll do a new metric drawing file. ANSI millimeter. Okay, let's put the object in there. And it is big, isn't it? Okay, we don't want something that big on it. We don't want a D-size sheet for one thing. So let me knock it down to, say, quarter scale. Half scale. Let's go half scale. See what size sheet we can put that on. So we don't want a D-size sheet. That's just too big for one little thing. Okay, so let's get a B. Let's get rid of this title block. Okay. Okay, sheet size. Let's see, where's an A put us? Probably way too big for an A. Well, I'll show you. I could get quarter size, huh? Or will this fit on a B? Now, going to a B size is horrible. Okay, we can do this. We can put on a B and our title bar. Our title block. I'm going to move the title block up to this right hand corner. And so the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to right click here on the sheet, edit sheet, and then right here we can pick where our title block is. If I want to put it in that corner, I'm going to put it in the right corner. That gives us more room down here to dimension, so we're not on top of each other. Okay, first things first are center lines. That's the first thing you do when you dimension is put in your center marks. Here, right here, one here. What's up with that? Try it again. And one doesn't go all the way through the object. Okay. And there'll be one here. All right. We'll have one here too, will we? That one doesn't want to go all the way through the object either, which is really odd. I think that's because of the way I built it. I didn't put a hole in the object. I made the hole from the initial extrude, which I think is affecting things a little bit. All right. So we'll start with features like, cuts and such. And basically what you want to kind of do is go through all these dimensions and make sure you cover everything. Do not over dimension. Do not dimension anything more than once. And the first tier of dimensions comes 3 times the text height. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. So it's about 2, 3. It's about 3 right there. And you'll see there's defaults that are built in that'll show you where to put it, sort of. And the second tier is going to be 2 times the text height. So if you're in millimeters, your text height is 3 millimeters for the first, or be 9 millimeters from the object for the first line, and then any additional dimensions beyond that will be 6 millimeters from that dimension. Okay, so if we were to put this dimension here in, and always pick the end of the line, because you want this gap right here. Okay, see where that gap is? Let me put this in. Yeah, I'm going to move this like that. 133.3, that is odd. You know what, I don't need that dimension. Yeah, because it's going to be, that's unnecessary. See this gap right here? You want that there. Okay, if I were to place this dimension like so, like say grabbed here, or still giving me, if I grabbed it like back here and there, see that? It doesn't put a gap in because it thinks I'm dimensioning to this. I don't want that. Dimension to that line. Let's go right there. Okay, now one thing in metric we have to do, I'm going to put this dimension in here. And let's give it an overall. Oh no, put the overall elsewhere. Put the overall down here. What we do need in this view is the location of this hole. So we want to go from here to here, and from here to there. Okay, now what we want to do here though is we want to change our dimension styles. They have them aligned. What's called aligned is when the dimensions line up with the dimension line. We want it unilateral for our purposes. So we go to manage, and then the styles editor. When we're in the styles editor, there's our dimension standards right here. We're going to come down to the dimension itself, open this up, default millimeter, and C is what we're working in. And we want to look at text, and this is how they're set up right now, that they're aligned. We want to change them so that they're unilateral, so that the inline horizontal is what they're calling it. Okay, and that's where we want it. So it's like that. Now another thing, if we look at the drawing, we dimension to the units of the drawing, so there's no decimal points on these units. So we want to change that too. So our styles editor again, precision right here on the units, make it 0. So that gets rid of the decimals after the after the dimension. All right, so let's continue on down to here. No, we don't want that. We want it to go from here to here. There we go. All right, and then we're going to get, and we want to try to keep the dimensions between the views. Put your linear dimensions between the views. Sometimes you have to put them outside of the view. That's okay, but you want to try to keep the dimensions, the linear dimensions between the views. They relate the views to each other better, and then it lets you put your leaders and nodes on the outside of the view. And we've got a couple leaders that we'll need for this drawing here. We'll get to that momentarily. You want to avoid putting dimensions on the view. Sometimes you cannot avoid that. Okay, that's just, yeah, sometimes it's just unavoidable. You have to. There's nowhere else to put them. The big thing is clarity. Excuse me. So if you break some rule for the sake of clarity and understanding, that's acceptable. We need to show this location here. Notice I don't put a dimension here because I'll have an overall for the height somewhere, probably over here. So you know, if you've got the overall, you got this and this, you don't need that. All right. This hole has to be dimensioned. Now this is okay because this extension line is going to the center line. It's extending. Okay. There doesn't have to be a gap there. And this is one case where you would put a dimension on the view. That's fine. Or on the object, but you want to avoid that if possible. Put this dimension in. And we need... Now here's a situation where you could either go a dimension here and here and then an overall, but since it's symmetrical, we can just do this. We can put a dimension here and then put the overall on top of it, and that, you know, makes the assumption, oh, okay, this is symmetrical. We can do the math to figure out what that is. We do want to avoid is this situation. Okay, you don't want your dimensions, if you got dimensions stacked like this, you don't want them to be lined up like that. You want the values to be offset so that it's clearer and easier to read. So you move that over there a little bit, move this over here a little bit, and that's much better because you can relate that dimension to that feature better. I'll show you. Well, here's a perfect example right here. See how they stagger these dimensions? They do that so because if these dimensions are all lined up right next to each other, it gets very confusing and hard to read. Put the overall on the side. Excuse me. Oh, geez, you're killing me. Okay, so let's see now. We've got this, we've got that, we've got that. We put our leaders in yet. I got overalls for height, width. I need an overall for length here. I'm going to go ahead and put it, which view should I put on? I put on either the top or the bottom front. I'll put on the front view. Okay. And then our leaders, we got two holes. Okay, now notice this. We have a hole dimension tool that will read, you know, it understands that this is a hole, and that's how I made that. Okay, as a hole on here. This one, this hole down here, when I made it, it was made from the original extrusion. Okay, that was part of the original extrusion. See right there. So it's not going to read it as a whole. It's just going to read it as you know, it's going to give the depth of the extrusion, which we don't want. Okay, let me show you. When I put that in, if I put it in as a whole, it's going to come and give me this. The depth of a 175. Well, 175 is the width of the thing, right? So what we can do with that is click on it and we can edit it. That HDTP is the value. And get rid of the depth symbol and type in THRU. And and that fixes that. Okay, let's see. What else do I need here? Am I missing anything? Take a look at the object. Oh, yes. I need a depth right here. So, the nice thing about Inventor is, you can move dimensions around and stuff. So, let's see. Let's move this out. This one's got to come out to there. This one to here. Okay. Alright, so we got that depth. We got this. We got this. We got the height of that. We got this. Distance. Oh, angles. We need angles. Yes, we do. So this angle here. Let's put that like there, like so. Normally you'd want to bring it out, but it's such a large thing. It's fine just to put it right there. And we need an angle right here as well. And that's good. It's all reasonable. Yeah. And there you go. Nothing's ever dimensioned. We don't dimension things twice. We got 250 here. We don't need it up here. We got 175 here. We don't need it over here. Never dimension to hidden lines. Okay, let me make that emphatically clear. Never put a dimension on a hidden line. So we don't want to do that. There you go. Let's fill out the title bar, title block. What's this thing called? Angle slider. Okay. And save. Save as angle slider and export to PDF and send me a PDF because I won't be able to open this if you send me this file, the IDW file. The drawing file. Okay.